Hi, I'm Beth with American Patchwork and Quilting, and welcome to So Green. Simple swaps can make a big difference in the impact we have on the planet. We encourage you to stitch up sustainable alternatives to disposable items and reduce waste around your home. Today, we're sewing cloth napkins and reusable makeup remover rounds. They're both really easy projects and stitch up quickly. I've got a variety of really cute Riley Blake Designs fabrics here for my napkins. This is a great project to use those larger scale motifs and fun novelty prints because you're going to see a lot of the pattern on your finished project. And you can stitch them up to match your decor or even get festive with some holiday prints and then switch those out as the seasons change. Now, I do personally find that the darker background prints do work a little better for napkins and are going to hold up a little better to repeated washings than something with a lighter background. I haven't found staining to be much of an issue, but just something to keep in mind when you're selecting your fabrics. Since you'll want to make multiple napkins, I'll share my time-saving tips with you today. I made about 10 napkins per person in our family, and that has seemed to work well. You'll find the link to the free download in the video description. So the first thing we're doing is cutting all of our fabrics to an 18-inch square. A fat quarter is 18 by 21 inches, so you'll be able to get one napkin per fat quarter. Sometimes I do find that those fat quarters are just not quite 18 inches wide, and that's okay. Just cut as large a square as possible as you can out of the fabric that you have. So I notice sometimes mine are 17.5 inches, 17.75 inches square. I don't get too picky about it. Just as long as it's square, it'll work. Once your squares are cut, you're going to be marking on the wrong side of your fabric. So I've got this flipped over, and we're measuring in an inch from each edge and marking a dot with a air or water soluble pen. And I made myself a little template out of a manila folder, so I just drew my 1-inch square on the corner, cut it out, and then I can line up the template with the edges and then just mark in the corners. This just makes it go a little bit faster when you're making a whole bunch of these. Once you've marked all the corners, then you'll fold the corner point into the dot and press. And then do that on all the corners. Next, we're going to trim a 1/4 inch away from that crease. So we're just cutting off just the tip of the triangle. And then do that on all the corners. Next, I'm going to fold in all the edges a 1/4 inch and then press. I'm using my manila folder again. On the opposite side that I have my notch, I just drew a 1/4 inch line all the way across, and I'll use that as a guide. So I like to do this because I can just place it onto my fabric, fold over, and then I can press right onto the folder. So that makes it a lot easier to get that 1/4 inch seam. And I'm using this Singer Steamcraft Plus iron, and it's got a nice narrow tip for detail work. Once you've gone around the entire napkin, then this is what it looks like. And I'm going to fold in one more time, another 1/4 inch, and that's going to bring this corner together and miter the corner. So when that comes together, sometimes you have to manipulate that a little bit with your fingers to get that to match up nicely. And then you want to press that. And then I like to use these clips to hold that corner in place. And then just continue on folding over another 1/4 inch and pressing. I don't use the folder for this part because it folds relatively easily where the edge of that fabric is. And that will create your double fold hem. Now we're ready to stitch. So I have this face down on the machine so that I can look at the folded edge of the hem while I'm stitching, because we want to get about 1/8 of an inch away from the inside fold of this hem. It can be a little tricky depending on needle positions, and that's what I love about the Singer Heavy Duty 6800C, is that you can get really detailed adjustments on the needle position. So here it is in the left position. There's center, but we need a little bit more. So we need to move it over to the right a little bit more. And I think that looks good. And now I have it set up so that I can run the edge of my napkin along the edge of the presser foot, and we should have a nice top stitching seam there. As you come to the corner, you want to try to get your needle to stop in that miter as close to that as possible. Stop with your needle down and then pivot. So here's the completed napkin. So you can see the corner is nicely mitered, and I used a pink thread for a little fun contrast. Now that I've finished my napkin, I'm going to show you how to make our makeup remover rounds. You'll find the link to that free pattern in the video description. So you can use a variety of different fabrics for this project. I do find it works best if one side is towel and then the other side can be cotton or flannel or jersey, whichever you'd like on the other side. So I went to my linen closet and found a towel that already had some bleach spots on it and thought this was a perfect use for that towel that wasn't seeing much use anyway. So the first thing you need to do is cut 3-inch circles out of both of your fabrics. So there's a template in the download that you can use, or you can trace a glass that's 3-inch diameter, but I'm going to use my AccuQuilt fabric die cutter. It makes cutting circles so easy. So I'm using this circle die that has a 2, a 3, and a 5-inch circle on it. And since I only want the 3-inch, I did subcut my flannel to around a 4-inch square. So it doesn't have to be precise, just as long as it covers the shape that you would like. And then I'm going to add my cutting mat and then send it through. And that is the super easy way to cut circles. Once you have your circles cut, layer them wrong sides together. And I think it's easiest to sew with the towel facing up. The machine seems to grab it a little better that way. So I like to pin from that side. So just a little pin just to hold that in place. The towel can get a little shifty if you don't pin it. And then you want to set your machine up for a zigzag or an overlock stitch. So I did these 3 with some different stitches to kind of show you the difference. So this is a regular zigzag. This one is a multi-step zigzag, which is usually used for stretchier fabrics, which definitely helps with that towel and that flannel. And then this one is an overlock stitch. So that one you're getting the zigzag and a straight stitch. So you're getting a kind of a serger seam with your sewing machine. And I found this one did work the best if that's an option for you on your sewing machine. So this is what that overlock stitch icon looks like. You can see it's got the zigzag and the straight stitch. And then we're recommending a 5mm width and a 1mm length. I did find that a 1.5 was a little better for my machine. Then just stitch around the circle. If you need to stop and adjust, just make sure your needle is in the down position. It's definitely tricky sewing around that circle, but on the plus side, they don't have to be perfect to still be useful. So we'd suggest sewing 10 of these, and then when you go to wash them, we'd recommend a mesh laundry bag. That'll help keep them all contained while they're in the washer. And I love to repurpose containers to store these. So this jar used to be a candle. So once I burned the entire candle, I cleaned the wax out, and it is the perfect size for these makeup remover rounds. I love being able to give this candle jar another life. To make your sewing as green as possible, find ways to use all those extra fabric scraps. So larger ones can be saved for future projects. You can save the selvages for those fun selvage projects. You can save up smaller scraps until you have enough to stuff those into a pet bed and donate to a local animal shelter, or just pop them into a jar and use it as decor. So I've got these in an upcycled glass jar that used to hold tulips. You can also compost 100% cotton fabric. If you have city composting, just check first to make sure that's accepted. In the video description, I'll have some more links for ways to use or donate fabric scraps. Thanks for joining me to Sew Green. We've got some great projects coming up. Visit allpeoplequilt.com/sewgreen to find the schedule and more details.